Howdy, guys. Mike Baker, Matt Beyer, ABO Outfitters. Today we've got a super fun guest. It's Ben Brochu from Shadow Valley Outfitters in Arizona. They have a ton of different hunt options, anywhere from the world-class, world-famous kaibab and strip, all the way down to the over-the-counter opportunities that us regular Joes are going to try to get on sometime. So it's really information-packed, super fun. Thanks for joining in, and stay tuned. Okay, boys, we're live. Ben, thanks a lot for joining us, man.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure, and I appreciate you taking the time to have me on and hopefully provide all the listeners with some good information about Arizona and opportunities and how to get involved and, what they can do to come out and hunt in Arizona and the West.
Absolutely, yeah. Arizona in general in the state, from up here where we're at and the ABO Outfitters crew in the Midwest, that's a dream state to a lot of people. So definitely interested in the exciting information that people could take with this.
Giant bucks and giant bulls, but there's also, everyday person, so to speak, hunt opportunities. And we'll obviously dive into that. But Ben, what we like to do typically is we'll just jump back to the beginning, where you grew up, who you are, what kind of things you were doing growing up as far as the outdoors, and what ultimately got you into it.
Yeah, no, sounds good. Well, again, like you guys said, my name is Ben Brochu with Shadow Valley Outfitters down in Arizona. I'm one of three owners of the company. The other two owners are Pat McCarty and Bob Dykeman. They live up in Prescott, and I'm down in Tucson. A little bit about Shadow Valley. We cover all of Arizona. We've got about 35 guides or so that work for us, and really tried to get into something that to provide a little bit different opportunity. We try to cater more to the trophy component, but also just try and be real with folks and honest with people and about expectations and what to expect and, get folks out here and have a lot of fun. So in terms of me, I'm an Arizona native. I grew up here in Arizona, southern Arizona. I grew up hunting and fishing with my family and grandparents, everything like that. So it was something that, has played a big role in my life and shaped me into the person that I am. Since I was in diapers, I was on camping trips again. I don't think I was in middle school before I went trick-or-treating, because we were always out at deer camp and stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, grew up in Arizona. After high school, I went to college at the University of Arizona, the best college in the state for any Sun Devils fans out there.
ASU?
NAU Lumberjacks. No, I went to the U of A.
You went to the other one. The better one.
Do I have an ASUer listening?
No, not on our side.
No, yeah, definitely.
Okay, good.
We're about the opposite extreme, just about to the Canadian border, UND.
Yeah. Yeah, so I went to the University of Arizona. I majored in wildlife ecology. I got my 4-year degree in wildlife ecology, and then shortly thereafter went and did a few seasonal jobs, and then finally got hired with the Arizona Game and Fish Department. I bounced around a few different positions there around the state, and finally got hired as a game warden. They're also referred in Arizona as a wildlife manager. I was a game warden for about 11 years, and then decided I needed a little bit of a career change, and so I went over into the fire service. It was a fairly easy decision in terms of opportunities. It's all the same retirement, so all my time transferred. And there was just more opportunity in terms of both personally and professionally with the fire department.
Yep.
And it afforded me more time to actually do more hunting, both on my own, more guiding, and some more stuff with my family as well. So I've been with the fire department for, I guess, a little over 5 years or so. And yeah, it's been great. It's been a lot of fun, and certainly don't regret any decisions I've made. And I get to do a lot of stuff with my family. Most of November, I've been on hunts with my friends and family and things like that. So it's been good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, very interesting.
Gosh.
I mean, to correlate with that, it was interesting to hear your outlook on, that you went through the wildlife industry, and then made a transfer because of personal reasons. And I actually went to college. My first stint in college was to South Dakota State University, and I went for wildlife and fishery sciences. And then nice. As a young 18-year-old lad, I didn't feel, I was just looking at some of the internships after college, and the amount of people that are sought after for those few positions, and I just kind of got caught up and went to a different direction. And and so the same things kind of came back in my head too. It's just like, well, if I'm out doing this and grinding away in the job market, I definitely want to have time for my own personal hunting things too. So it's kind of cool to understand your travel through that industry.
Yeah, and then not only that, but go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say it was a ball. I mean, I had a lot of fun when I worked in the industry. I did a lot of really cool things. Probably my most favorite was just wildlife captures out of helicopters and stuff like that, which
that's so
and
crazy.
that's what gets everybody into that, right? Like you see those types of things and activities that those people do in the wildlife studies, and it's like, holy smokes, that looks like fun.
Yeah, no, it's it's a ball just going out and capturing wildlife, and then just all the aerial surveys, being able to see stuff from a helicopter or a plane, and it's very, very cool. Like I said, I don't regret anything. I had a lot of fun with the agency, and but for me, it was a good time to move on, and I certainly don't regret the decision I made. So
I'm sure things start to make sense a little bit more. You can look at topo maps and all that kind of thing, and sure, you can understand it. But looking at it from a helicopter in some of those areas that you're going to then be out hunting, you see the way the herds are moving or animals are moving. It can totally change your mindset, and probably then later on down the road can help you, now in your job as a guide.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, it's certainly been very helpful.
That's awesome.
So you mentioned you guys got 35 guides within Shadow Valley. That's a pretty good number of guides in your outfit. How many? I mean, let's dive into the outfitter side of things. Like how many groups can you take on at once? What's the accommodations you guys have? I mean, with 35 guides, licensed guides out there, that can take a lot of hunters, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have, like I said, 35 people. All the people, because of our history, and especially my history, obviously being in law enforcement and things like that, we're very careful in terms of who we employ. A lot of friends, very close friends, family members, people that we know and trust already. We really don't and haven't brought on anyone, just complete strangers, just because of the liability, obviously. Yeah. But a lot of, everyone has their own second career too. So we don't have any full-time guides per se. People have their own careers, and some people are more active than others in terms of how many hunts they want per year and how many we can do. But we've grown substantially in the last couple of years. And I guess a little bit about Shadow Valley. Pat and Bob, they started Shadow Valley, the company, back in late 15, I guess, really early 2016. And they've worked for a number of different outfits prior to that in the state. When I was with the as a game warden, obviously I couldn't guide. I did a lot of assisted hunts and stuff like that, not in a guide capacity or paid capacity, obviously. But then I joined up in about 2018, I guess, and with the intent to run kind of Southern Arizona, the Coues stuff, OTC stuff and things. And we've just really grown from there. And So we do generally there's 10 big game species in Arizona. We cover just about all of them except for probably bison, I guess. That's a whole separate thing that is very specialized. But all the other big game species we have expertise in, and we do a lot of different hunts, especially for elk, mule deer, Coues deer, antelope, occasional bighorn sheep. Those are hard to draw, but we stay very busy with those first few species.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, the bison. Didn't we apply for that and tried winning the lottery there?
Yeah.
Wasn't there something special this year about a state
Yeah,
park herd?
Yeah.
And they were taking, what was it, a dozen people, I think, for the National Park Service.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably had like a point zero.
Yeah,
probably had like a 0.0001% chance of winning that. 12 out of how many applicants, but
put our names in the ring.
Yeah.
You can't draw it without putting in.
That's right.
I'm definitely not the person that's going to have the luck to draw one of those. You go to the local like Ducks Unlimited banquet or something, and it's like you can't even win at those, let alone a once in a lifetime type opportunity to draw a tag like that. But so yeah, I mean, you kind of just started jumping into some of the different species that you guys are running. So I mean,
let's start at the top.
Yeah.
Like we understand, we know from working with you that there's some hunts that are very, very not unattainable, but take many years of the drawing and the application process. So maybe let's start there and just with your background in the agency, you can kind of give the listeners some background on what, the application process and the timelines of some of those higher hunts, and then we can kind of work into maybe some of those that are more obtainable to the new listeners or people that are new to Arizona.
Yeah, for sure. So again, the best source of information is going to be the Arizona Game and Fish Department website, to have everything on there. But generally speaking, Arizona, like I said, they've got 10 big game species. All of the tags are available by draw. So meaning you have to apply for the tags and draw the tags to go hunting. The only exception is what's called OTC tags, and those over-the-counter opportunities, and those are available for deer, both mule deer and Coues deer, generally in 3 different times throughout the year. It's going to be August, September for folks who want to hunt velvet deer, the latter half-ish of December, and then all of January. And there's a lot of different units statewide that are open. There's some that are not, like the Strip and the Kaibab. Those are the premium opportunities. But there's a very easy opportunities for folks who just want to go hunting in Arizona with either archery or a crossbow, if you have either a crossbow permit or a champ permit or something like that. But back to the draw stuff. So with the draw process, and this is something that either ABO folks or us here at Shadow Valley that we can help with, is we can help folks in terms of making sense of not only the draw process, but also application strategies to then best have the best chance for drawing. There's 3 different draws in the state. There's a draw coming up in early February, and that's for elk and antelope. The next draw is essentially it's the second Tuesday in June. So, early June, if you think of it that way. And that's for deer and bighorn sheep. And then there's the spring draw, which is in October, and that's for the spring species like turkeys, buffalo, and javelina. In terms of the actual draw process, the biggest thing I can tell folks is get on the website and look at how the draw works. There's 3 phases to the draw. You have your bonus point phase, which is essentially only available to high bonus point boulders, where they allocate 20% of the permits, and up to 5% of those permits can be non-residents with high bonus points. And then and they only look at your first two choices for that. Next is the random phase of the draw. And that's where they allocate the remaining 80% of the permits, and for non-residents, the other 5% as well. And so they go through that. And then the third phase of the draw is after those two phases, then they look at everyone's third, fourth, and fifth choices if there's anything left over. So, and again, all big game species, with the exception of Otc Deer, bears and lions are another thing that you can just buy a tag and go hunting. You don't have to draw those. There are some draw permits for bears, but there's a lot of great OTC opportunities, especially in the early summer months, that, you can hunt what's called bears in the pairs. They get down into prickly pear cactus, and it's an absolute ball. A warmer hunt, but, a lot of fun. Again, we offer lots of those hunts and things like that. But
what
all
does
your
a prickly pear cactus
species
look like? Just trying to picture it in my own head. Like what kind of?
It's like it's a big flat, almost like a plate-like cactus that has sections that grow off it. A lot of Mexican cuisine actually has, they're called nopalitos, and it's prickly pear pads that they cut up. They take all the stick off of and things like that. But and it has a fruit on it that the bears absolutely love. And a lot of folks actually will pick the fruit and make a jam out of it and things. And it's really quite tasty. But
crazy.
Bears in the pears.
Yeah,
I like that.
Bears in the pears.
Yeah, they get into them, and they're it's an absolute ball. Again, it's a hunt. It's in August, September, October. October being obviously nicer, but when they're in the peak of the pear season, that's your August type timeline, and they're much more visible during that time, and it's a great time if folks want to hunt bears in the pears, and it's a over the counter tag. You buy your tag and plan your hunt.
Kidding. Yeah, that sounds super entertaining.
And then maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but on some of those bear hunts, maybe it depends on area or unit, but are there, like, when a certain amount is reported as a kill or tags are reported being punched, then they shut those seasons down, or is that not correct?
Yeah, no, that is correct. So there's a unit specific kind of a quota, if you will, and then there's
Got it.
Almost a zone type specific quota, both for bears and lions. And so let's say you have the bear opener. All of our seasons open on Fridays. You're guaranteed to have until Wednesday to hunt. And then sundown on Wednesday, that's when everything is updated. And if only sows, only females impact the harvest objective, and can close the different hunts and seasons and whatnot. So it's open for Friday to Wednesday, and then you have to check and make sure that harvest objective hasn't been met. And if it has not been met, then it's open until the following Wednesday. So it's open for a week at a time. I guess in terms of the listeners, if you're interested in hunting fall bears, again, give us a call or ABO, and I would schedule the hunt for that first opener just to guarantee that you actually get the hunt in, and go that route.
Those quotas must be, they get met pretty often.
Correct. And there's some units that close, essentially right away, just because there's so many bears out and about, and there's some units that don't. So, each is going to be a little bit different, but obviously we want to put folks, in the action and where there's a lot of bears and they have high opportunity for success. So,
no, that's good info.
Yeah, if there's any questions.
Bear hunting in southern Arizona, or Arizona in general, is just not something that's talked about.
Not at all.
Especially up here in the Midwest. Obviously we have bear country up here, but that sounds very, very entertaining for a hunt. Bears in the pair. I like that.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun, and they're all black bears. I think the last grizzly bear was killed in the mid-30s in Arizona, but all black bears, lots of different color phases from black to blonde to brown, and and then kind of a mix of all the in-betweens.
Cool.
How lenient are they on those quotas? I mean, is it something that, like, let's just say you're out in service or no service, you kill a bear, and by the time you get into service and you report it, it's already been closed. Like, how lenient are they on that? It's got to be a grace period. Or do they say, no, it's your fault, you should have checked before you went out? Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's your responsibility to do it. And it's one of those things, you have to know what you're getting into before you do it. That's part of what folks, hire outfitters so that they don't have to worry about those details.
Yep.
But yeah, you double check beforehand and make sure. And then, like I said, you're guaranteed up until that Wednesday. The season would close Wednesday evening. So you want to check if you're going to continue hunting, late Wednesday night, Thursday morning before you go out, just to make sure everything's open.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right now we've got your site pulled up with some giant
for the listeners,
strip kaibab bucks. But
for the listeners, like you said, if you are like looking at these pictures of the strip and kaibab, I'm familiar with those hunts. If people are looking at your website or listening to this podcast and have not investigated what a strip hunt or kaibab hunt is like, obviously that's world-class mule deer hunting.
Yeah.
If that interests you, start applying.
Yeah. And so we were just kind of talking about the different seasons and application process, but on average, like, what number of points are those guys drawing with?
And you're talking specific to like strip and kaibab?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's kind of tricky, I guess. There's application services, that can do all the applying for you and whatnot. Luckily, Arizona, a few years ago, they changed it to where, so up to 10% of the available permits can go to non-residents. They changed it a few years ago, and they split that up in that kind of what I described earlier. 5% go to the high bonus point holders, and 5% go to folks, to non-residents during the random phase of the draw. So that's creates a better opportunity for folks with less than max bonus points. I think max bonus points right now is upwards of like 31, 32, something like that. Meaning they've been applying for, essentially like 20. If it's 32 bonus points right now, they've been applying for 30 years. Because you can get a hunter ed bonus point and then what's called a conservation bonus point in addition to the application point. But there are opportunities, I guess, more so depending on like the kaibab, for example. There's archery opportunities on the kaibab that are, generally speaking, much easier to draw than the rifle opportunities, and especially the late rifle hunts, that are known for smack dab in the middle of the rut and things like that.
Yeah.
Right.
But the Arizona strip and the kaibab, that's world class. I mean, it doesn't get any better. You're up there, and especially the strip over the kaibab. The kaibab's great, but the strip is really where, it's known for those, that the bench line is that 200-inch mark or bigger. This year it was a really, really poor year in terms of drought, and it was a struggle for trying to find deer that, hit that 200 mark. But it's also been known to produce deer that are over, 250 and above, on crazy years. So
250 inches of.
That's like,
I mean,
is that an elk?
Yeah,
inches or no inches, like just looking at these pictures, all of them are just like a hunter's dream on the wall, right? Like that's what you want on your mat or above your fire mantle, or in your peak spot in your house.
Absolutely, it's and they're that's a trophy opportunity that, again, they're second to none. both the strip and the kaibab, you know, and it's just such a neat area, and it's big, it's vast. You know, it's I think the strip alone, 13B, there's 13A and 13B that make up the strip. 13B is, you know, bigger than 2 Rhode Islands put together. I mean, it's if you draw a tag like that and you don't hire someone, you're making a giant mistake. And I only say that because, you know, to even cover that country, you have to have big glass. And when I say big glass, I'm not talking about 15 power binoculars, because you're under glassing for stuff like that on the strip. You're talking, you know, Swarovski BTXs, Koas, twin spotters, things that you're actually looking out 2 and 3 miles with optics, just to kind of cover your bases. And you'll have days where you don't see deer because it's, you know, again, it's generally speaking lower deer density on the strip, but super high trophy potential. I mean, it's a really cool place. You know, super awesome. And, you know, and then you have the kaibab, where it's kind of the opposite in terms of deer density. There's super high deer density, especially on the west side, 12A West. And, you know, and it's produced some jumbo deer. Lots of history there in terms of the kaibab and the deer herd. If you go online, you can find lots of information about, you know, carrying capacity and what's happened in the past in terms of when they didn't manage it well enough, or they let the deer carrying capacity get above where it should have, and then you have a
Hold on 1 second, Ben. We lost
him.
There, he's back.
Yeah, I got a duck call in the back. But yeah, I mean, the kaibab is a place where, again, lots more permits, generally speaking, great trophy potential. And if I were a new out-of-state non-resident hunter, I'd be looking either for that archery kaibab hunt or the early kaibab rifle hunts that, you know, again, can produce some great deer, you know, 180 plus type deer. And certainly that 200 mark is possible. But you know, great opportunities. And the best thing I can tell folks is, if you're not applying, at least start buying bonus points. Start buying bonus points and at least build bonus points in Arizona.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, the people that know about the strip and have points, obviously they're knowledgeable on this subject, and those that are just hearing it and want to, it's either, you know, like you said, you're going to have to go for those more obtainable zones or seasons, versus that, or it's a retirement gift to yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I was going to say that.
So
it kind of you have to probably make that decision of, like, I'm going to put in and just wait with Arizona, or I'm going to try to draw a tag once every like 5+ years instead of waiting 30 possibly.
Right. So then, as far as, you know, those are the top tier, you know, things that people could apply for, and then you guys offer guide service for. But what's some of the more, you know, less time consuming, you know, what can you know, what deer hunts or elk hunts? I know that there's really good elk opportunities in Arizona that a listener could start applying for and reasonably get in the next 3, 4, 5, 7 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, there's the super hard to draw hunts, the ultra premium type opportunities, you know, for, like we talked about the strip and the kaibab from Mule Deer. There's a lot of deer hunts available in central Arizona and southern Arizona that, you know, you have the potential to, you know, to shoot something 160 plus and even quite larger. But, you know, probably the biggest deer that we kill this year is going to be that buck that was killed, I don't know, a month or so ago in southern Arizona, that is going to be bigger than any strip deer that we killed this year, or that we've killed this year. I mean, just an absolute giant, and that's a very easy tag to draw. So there are tags available that you can draw as a non-resident, you know, every 5-6 years, and have an opportunity to go hunting and harvest a nice deer, you know. And it really depends on the hunter in terms of what you want out of your hunt. If you want a good, a good representation of the species, whatever you want, what your physical capability is, things like that. Yeah. In terms of opportunity, so then, if we go into elk type stuff, again, those top tier jumbo producers are going to be like your 9, 10, 23, 127 type hunts, things like that are known for producing, bulls near that 400-inch mark. That, again, when you look at each species, that the bench line that everyone wants to hit for mule deer is 200 inches. For elk, it's typically 350. Antelope is 80 inches, Coues Deer 100 inches, stuff like that. That's kind of the goal, so to speak. There are units for elk that you can get into that, again, depending on your goals and what you want out of the hunt. You can draw a late rifle bull tag with probably 5 to 7 points, something like that, and go hunting and have chances at a pretty good bull, 300 plus type thing, and even up to and potentially over 350 on some of these units. So each unit is going to be slightly different from year to year, depending on rain and things like that. Again, give us a call in terms of questions, where to put in. It's going to be super individualized, if what you have for bonus points, if you have any, how to start, and just go from there. And then again, Coues Deer, lots of units that are super easy to draw. Literally, probably maybe your first time applying, and then there's other units that will take you some time to draw. But for Coues Deer, our goal is 100 inches or better, and we're going to try and put folks in the units that best fit not only their needs and desires from the hunt, but is also fitting in terms of their physical ability as well. So last thing we want to do is bring someone out and kill them in a hunt or anything like that. So
yeah, I mean, it seems like maybe you have an opinion or an actual idea of when, but just as a state, Arizona seems to just take the stance of like managing for just higher quality of animal. And not to say that there's not opportunity for people to just go buy over the counter tags, because there certainly are. But like, when did that, has that always been the case in Arizona? Or is that something that, they kind of saw the writing on the wall, and then the 50s or 60s, they decided to take a more aggressive approach for limiting?
Yeah, it does. It does definitely seem like it's more strictly
It
managed.
Seems like it. And then,
well, I mean, it really is, and I guess, and I say that knowing how the process is and being from Arizona, and there's two different kind of management strategies that the Game and Fish Department takes with a lot of the units. So there's some units that they manage for more trophy quality. Obviously the deer has got the strip, the kaibab, things like that are managed separately from your opportunity units, where they divvy out more tags, and they get people out and hunting. I mean, that's important, because that's how they fund conservation, is through the sale of hunting and fishing, licenses and all the excise taxes and things like that associated with it. For elk, the same thing. They've got some particular units that they manage for trophy quality. But then generally a lot of the other units, the bulk of the units, probably 80% are just opportunity units. But that being said, there are, people would bend over backwards to go kill a 300-inch elk. And, generally speaking, in Arizona, that's very, very doable in just about all of our units. Right. And I think a lot of that has to do with the management, but it also is part of, the climate and what Arizona has. And, it's just a producer for great growth overall, in terms of antler and horn size and things like that. So,
yeah, I mean, that makes sense. There's not like, the mountains definitely get snow. Is there the same snowpack that there is in, higher elevations of Colorado and, Montana, whatever? Probably not. And then on top of that, there's only, as far as like a bigger predator, there's mountain lions, and beyond that, there's not like, grizzly bears or anything that's going to just dominate a population.
We've got wolves now, so we have mountain lions and wolves. And in Arizona, I guess part of the other thing too is we have kind of two wet periods, I guess, if you will. We've got the monsoon moisture in the summer that typically starts around July-ish, July 1st, and runs through early to mid-September or so. And then we typically dry out for a while, and then we get winter rain starting kind of anytime here soon, usually right around the mid to latter part of November, and that will usually last through February or March or so. So, that also plays into growth and things like that, and how the species have evolved here and whatnot. So, pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds
for sure.
Like
it's got a little bit of everything.
Gem.
It's got the trophies. It's got the actual opportunities. And you said 80% of your units are more of an opportunity type hunt. That's where, us as a group, I mean, we're looking forward to get down and start tromping around a little bit come January, but let's kind of talk about your over-the-counter hunts. Those are certainly something that people around here are going to be more apt to lean towards because, like I said before we recorded, growing up, and even now, of course, but growing up, you don't know about any of these draws or you don't know about any of the application process because you literally just go down to Fleet Farm or your local, wherever you can buy a tag. You can just buy it on Friday and you hunt on Saturday morning. So
yeah,
that's where it's probably more, it is archery only, but still, I mean, there's an opportunity for a lot of people to get down there if they choose to. So regarding your over-the-counter hunts, I guess let's just talk through that and just give us kind of a layout of what a typical day looks like, what the terrain is like, what the hunt could be like, and what kind of quality of animals, both mule deer and Coues deer, we could expect.
Yeah, for sure. So the over-the-counter hunts, again, we talked a little bit about bears and lions. The next would be our Otc Deer Opportunities. And like I said before, there's 3 seasons. There's that August-September hunt where you get deer and velvet. Deer are typically bachelor'd up during that time of year too, and they're fairly visible. I mean, that's one of the cool parts about that hunt is, one, they're bachelor'd up. Despite the heat, they're pretty visible. If you're into velvet, you can chase velvet bucks. It's super hot, usually a lot of bugs and things like that. Although, I hear that our bugs in Arizona aren't anything like what they are in other parts of the states. So
we have a lot of bugs, but they can't necessarily kill us as easy.
Yeah, right. It seems like a lot of bugs for us, but maybe I'm spoiled, I guess. But so you have that August-September opportunity for both Coues deer and mule deer. And again, there's a handful of units that are open and some that are closed. So each, I don't want to say it changes year to year, but your premium units like the Strip and the Kaibab are not open, as well as your super low Southern Arizona units, Southwest type Arizona that are very, very deserty. Because if those were open, you would literally slaughter deer around water during that hunt.
I bet.
But typically how we hunt, folks, during that time of year, usually we do spot and stalk in the mornings, depending on the monsoon moisture and how much rain we've had. We may sit water midday through the end of the day or do spot and stalk in the evening too. We're very proactive in that we like spot and stalk. It's a lot of fun. People really enjoy that in our experience. We can certainly provide the ground blind or things like that too. But we really like being more proactive and getting folks and try and sneak up and get into range and hunting like that.
Definitely.
During that time of year, that August, September hunt, I guess generally it's going to be rolling hills, Coues Deer, some mountainous terrain, but you're pretty limited in terms of the heat with how far you can go back in. So it's going to be rolling hills and some of the flat pinyon juniper flats and things like that for mule deer, and then southern Arizona desert type stuff for mule deer. But again, you're not venturing too far in because of not only the amount of water you'd have to pack, but also just managing your salts and electrolytes and things. If you really bite too much off, then you could really put yourself in some trouble if you're not careful. So.
Right, and that's definitely one thing that does not go into consideration for us folks up here. That's something we're not accustomed to, so that's interesting.
Yeah, so that's your August, September hunt. So that's your first opportunity for Otc deer, both mule deer and Coues deer. The next opportunity is going to be the latter part of December. Generally, it's the kind of the last 3 weeks or so of December. And now recently, the Arizona Game and Fish has been reducing some of those opportunities. So there's still December opportunity, but fewer and fewer units are now open. But
is that because of the rut, or what's the reason for that?
Harvest, I guess. People have been too successful, so they're as part of the prescription. When you have 20% of the harvest for 3 years in a row that comes from archery harvest, they have to start removing opportunity. And part of the first opportunity that's removed is that December hunt opportunity for some of those units. So, and that's something, again, in December, more so mule deer, less so Coues deer, generally speaking, but you're getting into that rut activity. And so mule deer are typically, up north, they're in the rut in mid to early November. In southern and central Arizona, you're in the rut starting kind of mid-December, and it typically will extend through January, through early January. And so you're hunting deer in the rut, and again, great opportunity. I should say too, so in Arizona, you're allowed one deer per calendar year. And that's one thing that you can, let's say you come out in December, it's a lot of people's kind of last go for their buck for the year, so to speak. So, because once January rolls around, then you start fresh and you're then on obviously you can only kill one deer in that year too. So that latter half of December, a great opportunity for mule deer and Coues deer, probably a little bit more mule deer. If I had to suggest anything, I'd say the last week of the year between Christmas and New Year's is typically the best. But great opportunity, much cooler. Nice to be out and go from there.
So if somebody, have you ever had it where somebody were to line up their hunt like the last 3 days of the calendar year and then the first 2 or 3 days of the next calendar year, and in theory, day 1 or 2, kill a buck and then could literally go buy another tag and hunt with you on January 1st? Yeah, we have people every year that do things like that. They plan one trip and they try for both species or whatever it is. But
that's
sick. Like if you had some early success, you could just go, spend a couple hours to drive back into town and grab a tag. And
that's Mike for you, though. Always trying to optimize the meat in the freezer.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking about, tell me the rules and I'll figure out how to maximize opportunities.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, we have people do that every year, and it's a great opportunity, especially if you're, flying or driving from a long ways away that, you want to plan a trip and it's a great time to be out. So
sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's cold here.
That's good to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then the third opportunity for OTC Deer is January. Again, both Mule Deer and Coues Deer, technically pronounced Coues Deer, but a lot of the Arizona residents pronounce it Coues Deer. But one of those technical things that I'm sure that
I don't think many people. Yeah, that probably drives you nuts.
You get any biologists listening, they're probably cringing me saying Coues Deer. It's a local thing, but and again, so there are some units that are only open for the first 2 weeks of January, and there's some units that are open for all of January. But that's again an opportunity for you to chase deer full on in the rut. And from a standpoint of literally buying your hunting license, buying a tag, and planning a hunt, it's really tough to beat the OTC opportunity in Arizona for deer, for mule deer and Coues deer. Just because you can hunt deer right smack dab in the rut. They're going crazy. The weather's nice, and the days are short. So we actually have a lot of folks that will either rent hotels or rent Airbnbs, things like that. And literally we can hunt all day, come back. People can stay in a place, have a nice place to stay, have a nice shower, warm bed, and then go back out in the morning and,
hot tub.
And really, yeah, exactly. Cool opportunity.
Is that typically how you guys run the accommodations then for a lot of that OTC? Because I know that you guys cover a lot of the state with the amount of guides that you guys got. So is that kind of some of the hunter tries to find a lodging or hotel, Airbnb, and then we just meet up, rendezvous, and go?
So we offer a lot of different opportunities in that, so generally we do either a fully outfitted hunt, which means we provide all the camp setup, we do all the cooking, provide all the food, everything like that. That's going to be, that's going to look like, Kodiak canvas tents, wall tents, things like that we put folks up in, cots, sleeping pads, you bring your own pillow and sleeping bag and stuff like that. That's what our fully outfitted stuff looks like. And then we have a lot of folks that just opt for guide only hunts, which is you get the same guide opportunity, but they provide their own either camp setup or decide to rent a hotel. They do their own food thing and whatnot. Each is a little bit different. So like, let's talk about strip and kayak. We almost don't give folks a choice. We do give a choice, but our suggestion is more fully outfitted hunts for that because it's so remote and it's easiest to just take care of everything for those hunts for folks, and no driving back and forth, and because of where we're hunting. A lot of that is the same also for, generally speaking, a lot of the elk hunts, we're going to be camping out because of all things considered and whatnot. When we get into some of the OTC hunts, it's kind of I would almost say it's probably like an 80-20 mix in terms of folks. 20% want that fully outfitted option. They like that opportunity, but I bet 80% of people, after talking with them and just seeing what they want out of the hunt, they either grab a hotel or an Airbnb, which in some ways to us almost, it actually provides more flexibility in that, let's say during a 5-day hunt, I have people that all the time, they want to chase both Coues deer and mule deer. We've got kind of a central spot that they're staying in. I can go hunt a couple different units without really any issue whatsoever. Whereas if I go out to an area and set up a camp, I'm only going to hunt that surrounding area because of drive time and logistics and stuff like that. So,
right, and then camp tear down, and if you want to relocate, it's just not as feasible.
Takes half a day for sure.
Yeah. But we get, like I said, we get folks. I'll do some hunts in January. We get folks that want to do backpack hunts for Coues deer. So we spike in and pack out for there and hunt some area, and kind of go that route. So we can do whatever, we want to make sure folks are successful and want we want to deliver what they want out of the hunt, and some folks like the wall tent experience and camping and things like that. And we're happy to provide that. So whatever folks want, we're good with, but if folks are good also with grabbing an Airbnb or a hotel, it's just as easy and provide some flexibility as well. So
yeah, that speaks volumes. Like what you said at the beginning, that you guys communicate with the customer and you're open, you're clear, concise. Like you want your customers to get out of the hunt what they want or expect. So that's huge, just to to state that effort and make sure that those guys are getting what they want and what their purchase and their expectations are met. So
sure. Yeah, I mean, it's again, they're paying for a service. We want to provide that service and make sure that they, for a lot of people that harvesting isn't the complete end goal of the hunt. Sometimes it's the entire opportunity and the entire experience that will make or break something. So,
yep. Yeah. I mean, that's what, at the end of the day, I think most people kind of have that same similar feel where, of course, anybody who goes out and hunts and says they don't really care. Well, I mean, you're at the end of the day, you'd like to have that happen. That's what you're going out for. Right. But especially bow hunting, I mean, most of the hunts don't end in, a kill. I mean, it just doesn't.
Right.
So you just know at the same time going out and doing it, you just know that it's kind of it's the way of the world. That's what's going to happen. The experience of us going to Arizona, a place we've never hunted, that's going to be fun as hell. I mean,
yeah.
And and it goes back to the expectations thing that you said. And if you're, what kind of animal are you after? What's your trophy? And if it's just having the experience and killing an animal and that's your trophy, then Ben's going to sit you or get you up on a spot that it's going to get you the most successful odds of getting that trophy. So,
yep,
sure,
dude.
Yeah, and a lot of people want, they're having that conversation with folks beforehand has been very, very helpful to know what they want, whether they want a number or, a good representative, of that species or what it is. We've had folks from one end of the spectrum to the other. So, just having that conversation is important, and then going from there, and then we can, try and create a hunt and match you up with guides that provide that. So it's certainly, like I said, Arizona, if you're not taking advantage of those opportunities, especially the OTC stuff, very, even if you do it kind of the DIY style, I mean, very inexpensive and an opportunity to really, really chase some deer in the peak of rut.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw you shot a pretty gnarly buck with your brother here recently too.
I was going to bring that up.
Was that an OTC unit, or is he a resident and you guys went to a certain location?
Undisclosed.
So he's not,
undisclosed. Secret spot.
He could tell us, but then he'd have to hire a hitman. Their next hunt would be in Minnesota.
He is an Arizona resident, and actually that was a leftover. So after the draw process, if there's any tags that are unspoken for, there's what's called a leftover process, and it doesn't take any bonus points or anything like that. He got that tag. It was a leftover muzzleloader tag. So, they're fairly high demand, as you can imagine, but, he was lucky enough to get one of those leftover permits, didn't require, or didn't use any of his bonus points. And we went out and, we do a lot of pretty extreme stuff, a lot of backpacking and things like that. I have a lot of people that want from super easy, very, very minimal type physical exertion, I guess, to we've done stuff where I've had clients' toenails fall off because we're doing some really extreme things that, downhill and things like that. I found out later that it happens to him a lot. So it wasn't something that hasn't happened to him before, but
still,
I mean, we
going
can
hard
provide.
enough.
Yeah, exactly. I've had that happen one time out on a Western elk hunt, so I can imagine how much more physical, strenuous activity it's got to be to consistently, have clients do that on a consistent basis.
Yeah, but yeah. So that hunt, it was a muzzleloader tag, and we were lucky to find that deer on the 6th day of the hunt, and everything worked out, and he killed a tremendous deer. It's on our. We've got obviously the website. We have social media, both Facebook and Instagram. Those sites are probably more updated than some of our website stuff, but all 3 platforms, for folks to go and check out and see, go from there. So,
yeah, that was a
that looked like a dandy buck.
heck of a buck. I mean, so just that's something that obviously most people, if you don't have to go too far west here to see a mule deer. So like, getting on a mule deer hunt, I mean, I think a lot of people would love to do it. However, the Coues hunt and the Coues deer is just something that around here and areas that people typically hunt, they're just not there. So like from a standpoint of, you obviously guiding and glassing these bucks up, but also from a biological standpoint, explain the difference between the mule deer and Coues deer, and what kinds of main characteristics are you looking for? Like if like you said earlier, you're looking 2-3 miles out, what kind of things are you looking at off the hop besides like an antler? Because that's a main difference, of course. Whoa. We just pulled up his buck actually,
Yeah.
So we're looking at him again.
Looking at your brother pick.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Double drop tine.
Look at that thing. It's like a triple almost.
Yeah, he's got triple droppers. It's pretty
Triple drop. Whoa.
pretty cool deer.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so like I guess in terms of habitat types and stuff, like mule deer generally are in the flatter terrain. As they begin to rut, and they start to get up into a little bit more mountainous stuff. And it's very unit specific too. I mean, we've got some units that are much more mountainous that are full of mule deer. But again, generally speaking, especially like the Southern Arizona OTC stuff, easy to draw opportunity type units, flatter terrain, things like that. And then as you transition up into those hills, then that's where a lot of your Coues deer habitat starts. Coues deer obviously go all the way to nearly the top of the hill, or mountain, I should say. But you're seeing a lot of Coues deer also in some of the lower elevation stuff too, that they've actually ventured out. They've done quite well, and I don't want to say are competing with mule deer, but they're in some stuff that you typically in the past would see mule deer in. And then once you find them, obviously you're looking at different antler configurations, and there's different ways to tell obviously the species apart, the tail being the best way, and whatnot. But yeah, both very fun to hunt. Obviously mule deer could be much larger than, or are much larger than Coues deer. A mature Coues deer buck might be 120 pounds or something like that, where mule deer, especially some of the strip kaibab deer, you might get up into that 300-pound range. Mid 2 to 300 pound type thing.
Wow. Yep.
Dang.
But yeah, it just seems, I mean, it's obviously not just seems, it's a much smaller bodied deer, but they seem, from everything you hear and see, I've never hunted one, but I've never killed one, obviously, for that matter too. But everything you hear and see, I mean, them being commonly referred to as the gray ghost, that's like is a little bit more elusive, a little bit more of a not as visible type animal. But I mean, so you're just spending countless hours behind the glass when you hunt those?
Yeah, so a lot of Western hunting, especially Arizona, you've got binoculars mounted on tripods. Always mounted on a tripod. typically 15 power binoculars. 10 and 12s work well, but always glassing. And you're going to be, a lot of your day is going to be glassing, finding animals. And once you find an animal, trying to figure out what options you have to then get that animal killed, depending on the terrain, the wind, obviously, and things like that. Glass is critical, and obviously buy the best glass that you can afford. But the clearer the glass, the better and more effective you are going to be in terms of hunting and things like that. So that's what we do a lot of, almost exclusively with just about all the species, is lots of glass. And then in some areas in Coues Deer, the same too, a lot of big glass. We're using twin spotters, BTXs, things like that. So, I guess, incidentally, if anyone's in the market for anything Swarovski, I'm also a Swarovski dealer. So, they can certainly give me a call if they are interested in buying any quality glass at all.
For sure.
Yeah, good to know. Definitely. Especially when we need to upgrade.
Yeah. Hey, you got to throw a plug in there.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to.
Yeah.
Everybody's selling something, Ben. It's the way of the world, man. Swirl makes great stuff too. Okay. I mean, we've talked about just very, you've even talked about specific unit stuff, but kind of to end it, maybe more of like a rapid fire. Give us like your top three. We'll say like trophy with bonus points and no bonus points, top units for Coues Deer, Mule Deer, elk. Does that make sense?
Jeez, he's really
Coues Deer, Mule Deer, and elk.
He's dropping a trivia on you here.
So like,
okay. So Coues Deer, top trophy units, and again, this is going to be dependent on weather year to year. But for folks with no bonus points, you're looking at, and again, depending on your physical ability, the 36 units are great. 29 is great. I'd say that probably the 36s are up there in terms of easy to draw, low bonus point opportunities. Those, usually the early November hunts are pretty easy to draw. So I'd look at the 36s for folks just starting out. Trophy potential for folks with a bunch of bonus points. 23 is great, but that's a very physical hunt. If you're old and not able to get around very well, I'd stay away from that. The 36s have great trophy potential. 29, great trophy potential. 34A, good potential. If you're physical and want to bite off a bunch, try 33 too. But 33 had a fire 2 years ago, and then post fire, we had a really severe drought. And so it really knocked deer back a lot in that unit. It'll be tremendous here in 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
Still great unit, but not what it used to be. So that's for Coues Deer. For Mule Deer, non-residents with 0 points. I'd be looking at some of those central Arizona units. 9, 10, some of those, and then also Southern Arizona. The 36s are good. 30A is good. 32 is good. And again, there's going to be some hunts that are easier to draw than others.
Yeah.
If you're a non-resident with a bunch of bonus points, looking for trophy stuff, I'd say obviously the strip. If you can hunt archery, I would really suggest thinking about that archery opportunity, both the strip, the Kaibab, and then they just created some late rut type hunts There's a desert one down on the Cabeza Prieta, and then there's also one up in Unit 8 that's kind of a late season, low permit number, but, you know, trophy potential is very, very, very good in those areas. So that would be my suggestions for mule deer for 0 bonus points and max, I guess. Elk hunter. So elk hunter, 0 bonus points. Again, assuming, you know, you really probably aren't going to have much opportunity drawing an archery rut tag in September. Your only opportunity with 0 bonus points is probably going to be a late rifle bull tag. I'd be looking at Unit 8. 7 West are areas that are some of the 5s as well, but more so the first 2 I mentioned that are going to be, generally speaking, more opportunity, easier to draw. 300 plus inches are very, very easy in terms of potential there. Max bonus point holders, non-residents for elk. You know, you got to be looking at 9, 10, 23, 127. You know, and again, there's a whole variety of hunts from early rifle, early muzzleloader hunts, all the way to late rifle, late archery hunts, and things like that. So my best advice to listeners, if you're interested in hunting, give us the call and let's talk about where you're at in terms of bonus points, strategy, what you want out of the hunt, and go from there, because it's so individualized. You know, that's really the best advice I can give you, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. The guy's well versed.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was kind of more than anything. That's what I really wanted to kind of showcase, is like off the top of his head. I mean, you know what you're talking about. You've done it. You've been there as out in the field working. You've done it as a guide. You know these areas. You know where, you know, what areas would work better for certain people that not as physical, very physical, not as many bonus points, all the things that you have to consider going into a hunt. And, you know, that's where just picking up a phone and calling it, you could sit and talk and figure out pretty quick where you would apply for that person. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to show out of that, is like, if I'm somebody out there listening, I have any interest in hunting Arizona, or I have I have points built up, and I am not really sure when the time comes when I want to put in, give these guys a call, talk to them, and figure out what you want to do and what's best for you. So that's awesome. There's certainly a ton of opportunity to hunt Arizona.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially the over the counter hunts that he discussed. Like, it seems like it's a hidden gem, like it's overlooked, especially in the northern states up here. So
big time.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's separate from the draw process, and that OTC hunts don't require obviously any bonus points. You can still apply for draws and do OTC hunts. You know, the only restriction is that 1 deer per calendar year. So, you know, I mean, they're really 2 different separate things that are that folks can take advantage of. You know, and again, I guess look at the process, look at the bonus point process, the application process, how it works. There's ways to kind of set yourself up for success, and in just applying and how you choose units and things like that. So, you know, again, give us a ring and, you know, understand how the draw works and go from there.
Yep. Now, you mentioned the social media channels. I mean, it's just straightforward, Shadow Valley Outfitters on Instagram and Facebook, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Check them out.
Yep.
Give them a follow.
Give them a follow, give them a look. I'm paging through right now, and you guys have been having quite the season once again, I see.
Yeah, I know, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff we still have to upload. I mean, it's a constant struggle with trying to keep up to speed and things like that. But right now, a lot of our folks, the majority are up. You know, almost should be driving or already up there, camped out for the late bull hunts that start the day after Thanksgiving. So they start Friday and you know, run for a week. So all of our information's on the site, both Instagram, Facebook, and there's a way on our website to, do an email, a contact us email, that if you have specific things, let us know. We can respond that way as well and go from there. But in terms of, I guess, last minute advice that I would give to folks, look into Arizona, what's potential, give us a call for advice, understand the draw and the bonus point process. It's a state that requires you to have purchased a hunting license to apply. But what you get out of that is you can apply for all three, for all the different species and all three different draw cycles. And really, your cost of the non-resident hunting license plus your $15 application fee. So once you have that hunting license, it's really cheap to apply for at least bonus points for the other species. So start building those bonus points. And then if you have a hunt coming out, practice, be proficient with your gun or your bow or whatever. Try and be prepared as best as you can. We have a question all the time: what's your success rate? Well, we don't really deal in success rates because we can't control how well you shoot. I can tell you our opportunity rates are 90% plus, but our success rate typically is around a third or so, depending on how folks can shoot or whatnot. So those are things that are beyond our control.
Right. Good point. It's open country.
And there's even different sight setups and different even rifle setups that we suggest over others. From a sight standpoint, like a 5-pin adjustable or something like that. Whereas some people have like a fixed sight or, a 2-pin adjustable. That in Western states and in Arizona, it's so much time changing that when you get an opportunity that you tend to miss opportunities if they're very quick adjustments and things like that. So.
Oh, good tidbit of information right there.
Yep. Shoot your ball.
Like I said, give us a call, and we're booking out to 2023 right now. We've already got hunts booked, OTC hunts in 2023. If you want a spot, let us know. We do offer group discounts, and we can do just about anything whatever folks want. From a single one-person type hunt to big groups, fully outfitted, catered, whatever you want, we can accommodate.
Absolutely.
There you go.
It goes back out to listeners reaching out to ABO too. Mike's in direct contact with Ben, and you just heard how his expertise and knowledge is second to none down there in Arizona. So we'll get questions answered one way or the other.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, you guys can book hunts directly with on the ABO Outfitters website. We're in constant communication, so it's literally as easy as going on the ABO site too. And if you already know what you want, book it through them, and we'll be in touch.
Awesome, Ben. That was a ton of awesome information. So we seriously appreciate you and the time and your expertise for sure.
Can't thank you enough.
No, thank you guys for having me on, and again, reach out if you have any questions. And thanks, Mike, Matt, and all the ABO crew. And like I said, we'll help you guys any way we can.
Yes, no, thank you, and good luck the rest of the season down there.
Yeah, thank you guys much.
We'll talk soon, Ben. Take care. Thanks, buddy.
All right, you guys too. Take care.
See you, Ben.
Bye.